heated discussions. Not sure what the confidence level is right now, but we're about to find out.
Not very high.
Sneaky Hembo trivia. The last player to change teams after a season with 1,400-plus receiving yards. Louis Riddick, the floor is yours.
You know, naturally you think of guys like Tyreek. You think of guys like George Pickens, because, you know, Hembo always tries to kind of like, there's always like a thread here in terms of what we've been talking about, the teams we've been talking about.
Very sneaky.
So that's why Tyreek jumps to mind, although I don't think it is him. Could it be one of the teams that we're talking about? When you think of guys like Antonio Brown, it wasn't A.J. Brown. I know it wasn't him. I don't know. Antonio Brown had some really good seasons before going to Tampa.
Really going deep here, I see.
I'm going to say Antonio Brown.
All right. Lewis is going to go with Antonio Brown. Show me Antonio Brown.
Davante Adams.
Davante Adams.
I didn't even think about it. Oh, my goodness.
1,500 yards with the Packers in 2021, after which he was traded to Las Vegas. Hembo, nicely done.
You know what? That is good. That's good. That's good. See, you got me. You got me.
All right, let's run the hurry up with Jeremy Fowler. Jeremy, start us off.
Come on, Hawk. You got to help me out with that.
That's on me, Lou.
Let's do it. Tua. Miami Dolphins are weighing whether to keep Tua or to move on via trade or release. He's owed $54 million in guarantees, so they could convert that into a signing bonus, get the cap hit down. But the prevailing theme in league circles is that new GM John Eric Sullivan loves draft picks, comes from the Green Bay Packers tree, who's going to try to do whatever he can to get some more picks. And that includes trading Tua or maybe even some other pieces. So could be on the move. Plenty of teams need a bridge quarterback option. So we'll see what happens there. He's also had some durability concerns, so we'll see if that scares teams away and move on from there. Then you got George Pickens. So the Cowboys are expected to franchise tag George Pickens at around $28 million or so. Sounds like a nice lump sum of money, but Pickens might not be so keen on that. He might wait to sign that franchise tag, make things difficult, stay away from team activities, and they'll play the song and dance of whether they can get a long-term deal done. My sense is Dallas does want to keep him, although I don't think a trade is off the table if this gets real sticky. Then you got Maxx Crosby. Let's do it. We got the Raiders. There would be a ton of interest down the street. 20 or so teams would at least call, if they haven't already, on Maxx Crosby, and that's my sense, is they certainly have called informally, because the interest would be massive if they're willing to trade him. But they haven't gone down that road yet. They have to sit down and talk with Crosby, Raiders front office, new coach Clint Kubiak, and really sort out what does he want and what do they want out of this relationship. He has not asked for a trade. A source close to Crosby did tell me, though, he simply wants a winner, however that comes.
Lewis, you need good players to win football games.
Yeah.
Maxx Crosby is a damn good player. The Raiders have few good players. You would think they'd stay together, but are they better off trading them? Should that be the move?
Look, I think they have to strongly consider it. They need a lot of pieces, a lot of pieces. This is not a 1 or 2 year rebuild. This may be a 3-year type of rebuild, although you could see them getting it done in 2 if they hit on draft picks at a much higher success rate than what they have over the past year in particular under new GM John Spytek. But he knows they're going to have to knock it out of the park, but they need assets. They need assets in terms of draft picks in order to knock it out of the park. Max would bring those in. He's going to be 29 years old. This is a guy who is a culture driver, okay? Not just a good football player, but he is the consummate football player, the throwback type of guy at a premium position, at arguably the second most important position in all of football, regardless of what level you're talking about. So I think, obviously, I mean, there's a reason why 20 teams, upwards of 20 teams would be calling on a guy like this, you know, considering the potential that they could acquire him and what he would bring to this football team. If I'm the Raiders, I'm definitely considering it. Yeah. You hate to lose a guy like that who you would like to see him become another one of those long list of like heralded lifelong Oakland, LA, Las Vegas type Raiders. But I think this may be the best move for the team in the long run.
Hawk, I want to get your thoughts on this in just a second, but you had something interesting in your notes about the teams that could be interested in Crosby. Who would get the most aggressive?
I've got my list of teams that make sense, fundamentally make sense from an attitude, edge standpoint with Crosby. I have the Detroit Lions, because he's want to go to a winner. They need edge help. Opposite Aiden Hutchinson would be crazy.
Played at Eastern Michigan.
That's right. That's right.
Shout out.
Baltimore, you should have done the trivia. Maybe you would have got it.
I tried to help him. I'm the reason he missed it, but go ahead.
Baltimore Ravens desperately need pass rush help. Philadelphia Eagles, Howie Roseman never shies away from a deal. And here are two that are really interesting with help from Hembo. Dallas Cowboys, LA Rams both have 2 first-round picks. They're armed with capital to maybe make this done. Now, the Cowboys were trying to get in on Crosby at the trade deadline. They made the call to Las Vegas. Las Vegas wasn't moving on them. So one to watch. And you look at the Rams, you say, hey, you know, they're close to a Super Bowl. They have a good defensive line. They need secondary help, but what helps the secondary? The pass rush of Maxx Crosby.
All right, so let's drill down on the idea of Dallas. You got the George Pickens situation, which is one thing. Maxx Crosby sitting out there. You need defensive help. Where would you be better off going?
You know what? I remember the old Jerry Jones, Deion Sanders commercial where it was like, what do you do, 15, 20 mil, and he said both? That's where I'm at. I think you get both of them done. Yeah. And I don't know from a cap standpoint if you're able to get George Pickens a long-term deal, especially if he's trying to get upper-tier number one money. But I think the situation you have him in, whereas he's going to play on the franchise tag, and I don't think from a public perception point of view, he's going to be able to sit out games because he doesn't want the franchise tag. He's going to have to put another season together where he goes ballistic like he did a year ago, and maybe that gives you the opportunity to go get Crosby as well as still have Pickens in place for your offense, because we've never seen Dak better than when we've seen him with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens on the other side and making defenses and secondaries play them honest.
Lewis, best approach for Dallas here. Do you try to get something done long-term with Pickens? Do you try to franchise and bring in Crosby? How do you handle the mix between the two?
I think it's the latter. I think trying to franchise him and bring in, a guy like Maxx Crosby is probably ultimately what's going to wind up happening, although you would like to get some salary cap relief on a long-term deal instead of having to eat upwards of almost $30 million, in the high 20s as far as the franchise tag is concerned for him. But look, I think it's going to be tough. This is going to be a tough situation for them concerning trying to get George under contract because of the fact that, look, he's going to want 1A type of money, 1B type of money, which is pushing $30 million per year. And CD is already on the books for 30 plus. There isn't a team in the NFL that has two wide receivers making an average per year of over $30 million. And I don't think Dallas is going to be the first one. So I think here, when you look at this and you look at the depth at wide receiver in the draft this year, and you look at how you see young wide receivers continuing to come into the league and really make their mark earlier on in their career, which wasn't always the case. Yeah. I think you may be looking at this as going, hey, look, pass rusher is something that you cannot turn down. A guy like Maxx Crosby could really talk about an edge. Think about the edge he would bring to their defense, which is a defense that we have oftentimes criticized for being soft, not being a team that shows up in November and December when the chips are on the line. That is not Maxx. Maxx is the consummate football player. So if I'm Jerry Jones, I'm going, look, that guy out there in Las Vegas, we need to make a run at that dude now.
Hawk, if they can pull off what you're suggesting, the idea of Pickens coming back on the franchise and he plays, and you get Maxx Crosby, top of the heap in the NFC? Are we talking legitimate Super Bowl contenders here?
I think it definitely has the makings of a complete flip. Right? Especially, there's going to be good teams. Obviously, you have the Seattle Seahawks coming back. The Los Angeles Rams are going to be great. The Eagles are very talented. But this does change the face of this defense. And when the offense was rolling at the clip they were rolling this year, they just needed a little bit of help. And they could have been contenders, especially in that division. I think Maxx Crosby does that.
Almost feels like we might be talking about the Cowboys a little bit this summer. But we'll see. Coming up, the Slim Reaper questioning the effort of two of the biggest stars in the league. Wait until you hear what KD had to say about Luka and the Joker.